Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spiritual Connections LLC. I am Angelina, your spiritual alignment coach. And today, well, actually, this whole month, I want to talk about letting go and some of the ways in which we as human beings can start recognizing what needs to be released so that we can kind of start living our best lives. So, I want to talk about this thing called the energy boomerang, but I realized that I haven't made a video about the default mode. I am going to make a video about the default mode, but I do want to give you all a little bit of a brief overview about what that means and what that is so that this video makes sense to you. So before I get into that content, please make sure you like and subscribe, hitting that little bell so that you get notified anytime I go live or post a new video. It seems like I'm going to be going live often because it's a little bit less time consuming for me. So I can kind of get it in there in between doing sessions with people. And it's also kind of fun for me because when people are watching or are interacting, I can say hi and talk. And yeah, it's just more fun. So before I get too far away from what I'm doing here, I want to kind of get grounded in the content that I want to talk to you all about. So before I get into the energy boomerang, I want to describe the default mode. So, according to me, the default mode is the us that simply exists, right? It's the person that is reactive, the person who wakes up every day, the unaware self, right? So, I like to use the example of if you've ever been driving to work and you show up at work realizing that you have no idea how you got there. That's because you were in the default mode, right? Your subconscious mind took over, your conscious thinking mind went somewhere else, and you simply existed somewhere. Hey, Three Souls Paranormal, how are you? Welcome. Yeah, so that is the default mode. So this is just the us that is unthinking, unaware, and walking through life and simply existing. So now I want to talk about the energy boomerang. So what in the world is an energy boomerang? So, an energy boomerang is the action behind our perceptions. It's a combination between a reaction and a reflection of energy. Now, so often, you guys, not just, people I talk to or whatever, even me, I find myself in an energy boomerang often. So, what this looks like, or what this could look like, is, to use a funny example, somebody's staring at me. Well, why are you staring at me? You're staring at me because you think I'm ugly or you think I'm stupid or whatever, right? My default mode, possibly, it's not, but if it was, my default mode is to think the worst in people. So because I react or I perceive that person to think a certain way, I'm going to react to them and reflect the energy I feel onto that person. So, the thing about the energy boomerang is that it can appear positive or negative. So, this can be harmful or helpful, or at least appear to be. But it almost always results in an imbalanced energy projection exchange. So, I'm going to explain why in just a second about why the energy boomerang, it never really seems to work out. So, if we think back to that default mode, and once again, I'm going to create a video about the default mode in the very near future because this is incredibly important for basically all of my content. So it should be a video. But the default mode is this unaware us. It is the us that is not paying attention or taking things into consideration or seeing all of the other clues around us to kind of build up our perception of life. So, if we are operating in our default mode, we are almost always operating in the energy boomerang. So, the energy boomerang will happen often. Now, the main problem with the energy boomerang is it creates an all or nothing environment. Okay, an all or nothing environment, which means if I'm kind to you, you will be kind to me, or if I perceive you to be kind to me, I will be kind back. But if I perceive you to be mean to me, I will be mean back, right? So that's kind of how that works. Now, the way that the energy boomerang starts is it always starts outside of the self, right? It's always a perception that I'm seeing. So I perceive, I don't know, the walls are white. But you who are watching might perceive part of the wall to be yellow and another part of the wall to be blue. At least that's how it looks for me, right? So it always starts with something outside of myself or for yourself. The way that our brains work is so cool, it's so complex, but everything happens so fast. So whenever we're in the default mode, this is happening so fast that nothing enters into our awareness. So we take in this perception and then we process it based on that default mode. So we, as the conscious thinking person, so me, Angelina, does not process and think about the information that is being inputted or input into my brain, right? I'm simply in reaction. So whatever my subconscious mind or my default tells me to do is the thing that I do. So, like I said, this can appear positive and it can appear negative, but it always results in an imbalanced energy exchange. So, why would that be? Why would it always result in an imbalanced energy exchange? So, if you're watching this live or you're watching this later, feel free to put in the comments why you think an energy boomerang might result in an imbalanced energy exchange. I am going to tell you, but before I tell you, take some time. You can pause this video if you'd like. Get up, walk away from the video, whatever you want to do, and just think about why this might be problematic for your life. So, thinking about the default mode and how that could be problematic, and then the energy boomerang and how that might not exactly work for your lifestyle. So, while you're all thinking about that, I'll say once again, if you are watching this live or as a replay, please make sure you like and subscribe, hitting that little bell. And also, if you know of anybody who would like this content, who's interested in hypnosis and psychic work and spiritual alignment and all of the stuff that I find absolutely fascinating, feel free to share my videos with them. And yeah, check out my website, Spiritual Connections LLC, if you'd like to know a little bit more about me. And if you want a more in-depth reading or you want a session for yourself, you can also check that out on spiritualconnectionsllc.com. And okay, so I'm going to explain to you guys why the energy boomerang always results in an, and I don't usually say things like always, but today I'm saying always. So why is this an imbalanced energy exchange? This results in an imbalanced energy exchange because you're not operating in reality. An energy boomerang is not operating in what is really, truly, with discernment occurring in your physical environment. It is only based on what we have taught our brains to process and perceive. Okay? I'm going to say this again. Energy boomerangs, they always result in an imbalanced energy projection because we are not taking in our environment as it truly is. We're only taking in what we think it is. Now, we're human beings, so please don't take this as like you need to be perfect next time you interact with another human, because that's not very realistic. However, just by watching this video, your subconscious mind is able to kick into gear to either resonate with you and say, yeah, there are a lot of times when I'm operating in the default. I'm scrolling on Facebook. I'm watching Netflix. I'm not really fully engaged in this video that I'm watching, right? Whatever that looks like, I'm not operating with my full perception and attention. Maybe it's with your kids, right? Maybe with your kids, you're kind of like, yeah, listening to the conversation, but in your hand is a phone because you're multitasking. Okay. All of those things are operating in the default. And then whatever is happening outside of ourselves requires some sort of energy exchange or energy boomerang. So we throw an energy out there and we hope it's the right one. Okay. Let me know what you guys think about this content. Let me know if it makes sense for you or if you want something a little bit more, like more examples or whatever, because I know this content is a little bit confusing and I'm very much creating courses and things like that to make this content more digestible. And I'm trying to fit like a 2-hour long informational thing in about 15 minutes because obviously, I want people to enjoy these courses and also enjoy my YouTube videos, which is kind of a little bit of a taste of what I do on a more one-on-one level. So some key things to think about I release more videos this next coming month. So checking out to see when you're operating in that default mode, right? So if you're not really paying attention, not really fully engaged, might be time for you to re-engage with your active self, right? Put some of those distractions to the side and be present and just see what changes, right? See if you're less angry, see if you're less defensive, because you'll be fully engaged in the conversation. Now, some of the other ways to avoid an energy boomerang. So, first of all, is checking in with that default mode. The second way to avoid energy boomerangs is to ask clarifying questions, right? If you're talking with somebody or you're interacting with somebody and something feels off, right? So you're starting to feel that defensiveness, you're starting to feel that anger, and you're wondering what the heck is going on, because when you're present, you know that they're not really saying or doing anything that's truly like negative or harmful, and yet something inside of you is still feeling a certain type of way. Then you're going to want to ask some clarifying questions. What do you mean by that? Right? So you just said that my car looks really dirty and you want to write something in the side of my car. What do you mean by that? Chances are they don't mean anything by that. They just don't know what else to talk about. So they're talking about your dirty car. At least that's for me. My car is very dirty, right? So, right, asking those clarifying questions. What do you mean by that? The other is when you feel good, right? When you're feeling calm about something, is to ask questions like, hey, the other day you seemed like you were avoiding my eye contact, right? Like with my neighbors, we would say hello, but I noticed the other day you were avoiding eye contact with me. I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay with you. Like, are we okay? Are you okay? What's been going on? I'm asking those clarifying questions instead of in my own mind creating a default that my neighbors hate me, right? So I'm just reframing this and I'm asking those questions and I'm testing my reality. So in the future, another video coming is going to be something called reality testing. And essentially that's what this is, right? It's asking these questions to poke and see what is true and what is just our default modes making some stuff up. The other things to think about over this week is when you are in a place of reflection. So are you reflecting somebody else's energy? So is this mine? Am I feeling defensive or is that person feeling defensive? I don't know, right? I want to ask those questions of myself and of that person. Am I the one who's happy right now? So how many times have you been grumpy and you go and talk to somebody and you walk out and you're feeling great? Well, is this my happiness or is this their happiness that I just stole away, even though I was a grumpy butt, but now I feel great? So again, there's that imbalance, right? Because now that person feels crummy because I just gave them all my crummy energy, but I feel great because I took their happy energy. Okay. Now, keep in mind, this is going to get expanded on way more over this next month because we are heading into the Libra season, which is really all about balancing these energies, creating a situation or foundational situation of equality. We're also coming into fall, which means all of these old habits, these default modes are going to start falling away and we have to replace them with something. So we don't want to replace our default modes with more default modes, right? We want to replace our default modes with awareness, kindness, compassion, especially because we're going to go into the winter time and we'll get more energy updates about that in the next coming weeks. All right, everybody, that is what I have for you today. I hope this all makes sense. Please feel free to leave me any comments over here on the side, which I guess when it posts on Facebook, it won't look like that. But feel free to leave me any comments about if you like this content, if you find it interesting, and if you'd like me to expand on any of these topics in the future, because I love this stuff and I hope you love it too. So once again, I am Angelina with Spiritual Connections LLC. I am your spiritual alignment coach, and I hope you all have a blessed week. Again, if you're new to the channel, please make sure you like and subscribe and share with all of your friends, because once we realize when we're in a default mode, life-changing experiences begin to occur. All right, everyone, until next time, see you later.